Two peras y two peras. Today on Doop by the River, we had a 2-for-1 special again this week. We're going to look back at SKC past last Saturday. We're also going to look at our Champions League matchup this last Tuesday against Atlas. As we look ahead against FC Cincinnati, you know it's going to be a fun one this upcoming Saturday. And don't you dare go anywhere because you do not want to miss this episode of Doop by the River. And let's get started, guys. Done! Doop by the River
doesn't do anything well. There is not one.
I'm sorry. There was no creativity.
As a Union fan, I take that all day.
Another DP. We need to go get Mario Balotelli. And that is right. Welcome, everyone, to Doop by the River, the show where we follow everything Philadelphia Union. And, of course, we are brought to you by Philly Sports Network. Before we dive into today's episode of Doop by the River, I want to welcome everyone here on YouTube, on Ed Barcelona Philly's YouTube channel, where we got Twitter live here as well. If you guys are watching live on YouTube, make sure you guys hit that like button and subscribe for all of your future viewings of Doop by the River. And, of course, follow us on Doop by the River Twitter account. We're also available on any podcast streaming site. Find us under Doop by the River. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my expert in duping tonight, Justin Hungarian Ice Vein Miner Friedberg. Justin, they really don't like Daniel Gazak in Guadalajara down there, brother.
Yeah, you know, it's been an interesting week, especially the last few days. For those uninitiated to Central and South American supporters culture, it was a bit of a wake-up call, and unfortunately one of the many dark sides of the sport that we love. It was interesting, and it was definitely something that I'm sure probably was not the best for the team and for Daniel and his family to see. But the fans, the team absolutely have rallied behind him, and I fully expect, over the next week or so, kind of this team to just it'll be interesting to see how they respond to all of this, because it's not just even from this incident. There's been, around the league, it's been an interesting week overall around here.
Yeah, man, I completely. We'll get more into that. Let's just jump right in the back, because obviously we have a lot to talk about before our FC Cincinnati preview here at 9:30. But let's get to SKC first here, Justin. So obviously on Saturday, our boys are back at home and coming off of a tough loss against Orlando. You snapped a home field streak that you had there. So you welcome Sporting Kansas City, who is also struggling. And Jim decided to run with the usual lineup. Andre Blake in goal. Obviously, Kai Wagner's injury was something that was being monitored throughout the week, but Matt Riel got the start over Kai with Jack Elliott, Jakob Glezis, and Nathan Harriel. Your midfield, it's interesting, MLSsoccer.com said that Leon Flock was at the 6, but anyone who watched the match saw Brujo was mainly at the 6 throughout the match. Brujo at the 6, Leon at the left, Ali at the right, Daniel Gazak tip of the diamond with Carranza and Ure with two forwards. And Justin, what an absolute, scoring fest, because both teams put up 0 goals. That was obviously sarcasm, ladies and gentlemen. But Justin, obviously it was a ways ago, but Saturday, a 0-0 draw. It's SKC, they're struggling too. But what were your takeaways from that matchup last Saturday?
First off, to those of us who stayed through the hour delay, which I kind of had expected, with the way the weather was going to be, was safely hunkered in the Sons of Ben lawn in the building. Nearly had the tent that for the DJ blow away. That was a whole thing. We were trying to help him quickly pack away before getting into the building.
But or mid-season form.
Oh yeah, no, it was a wild setup. But it's I go to a quote from Ali recently that kind of sums up how I've been feeling about this, and it's not that they aren't creating chances. he goes, we are absolutely creating chances. It's just unfortunately, they're not falling the way they were last season. He goes, I will be worried when we aren't creating chances. And while this was something that, it wasn't the best of games, but I mean, you outplayed KC. KC never really looked into it. You challenged Amelia to make multiple great saves. To me, this is one of those games that you just like some of the chances like last year. Those are going in, and yeah, I know people aren't happy, and it's kind of been a rough start offensively, but you're still creating chances, and your defense was really not challenged all that much. Like, I generally wasn't worried from a defensive perspective. It was just hoping that the goals would go in, and unfortunately it didn't. Like, you still got a point. Like, and I was saying, yeah, SKC may not be the team that you want to get a draw against, but considering how the Union have been either win or lost this season, like, a draw feels pretty good, especially while you are still in CCL. Like, I know people are saying, oh, well, you can do both. I would argue that most teams outside of LAFC, because let's be honest, LAFC are I mean, at this point, it's something ridiculous. But like most teams that have gone through CCL, really their league play until they get eliminated is kind of suspect.
Yeah, and we're still trying to grow those teams too, Justin.
Yeah, like, and the thing is, the Union are keeping. I mean, listen, they're keeping pace, and I don't think, as I always say, and people seem to hate that I say this, but it's the most accurate statement. The first half of the season genuinely does not mean anything. Like, I will say, Seattle every year, like, basically makes that, and teams have gone on second half runs or flopped in the second half that have blown their chances. It's just kind of how it's the nature of this league, how long it is and how many months you're gonna, like, once you hit June, you really should hopefully start to get going. And between now and then, your schedule, I mean, listen, your schedule is not going to be amazing all the time, but you know what? Your schedule, like, you're in a pocket of games where right now, I mean, you're going to be on the road for the next 3 games, including CCL, and it's going to be an interesting see how they can navigate that.
Yeah, and traveling in the MLS is not easy whatsoever. Obviously, the rain kind of, adds a little bit to it, but I mean, like, a couple positives I would look at. Obviously, the shots on goal is still very positive. They are creating chances, and I agree with Allie. Like, if they weren't creating chances, that'd be a whole different story. But they gotta put it away, and I have a theory on that as well. But more importantly, Justin, I really was curious to see how the back line would respond after Orlando, and I thought they did a really solid job. The defensive structure was back to being strong. Andre really didn't have to do too much in that game, and that, I thought, to me, was the positive there. Now, granted, it is SKC, and they're having attack issues in there. Well, they put up shots on target, like we talked about with Kevin Scholl last week, but their problem is not being able to put goals in net. But I think that mainly, Justin, the problem here and the concern here with the Union, and it's not really a concern because, like, I'm with you, like, it's still early in the season. There's no real concerns for me, but the attack right now, I think the problem with the lack of goals is the confidence. And I think that right now, it's not really confidence. It's more like these guys are way too much in their head, and I feel like they're not on the same page as well. And I think that more matches as they go along, and maybe it is a little bit coming off of the MLS Cup, maybe a little bit of psyche from that. Maybe that's carried over, but they just kind of have to get out of this, and they have to get back on the same page. Obviously, there are some new pieces, but that's kind of what I've seen from the Union attack, and that's why I'm not concerned because of the track record of this team. But they just got to get back on the same page. This actually happened last year. Remember, we went on that draw streak, and Jim had a meeting with the team. They looked deeply into it. They went into the analytics and they fixed it. And that's when you saw 6-1, 7-0, 6-0. So I think that's just really what the Union need to do is just kind of relax and go a little bit back to the drawing board as well.
Yeah, I think that run of form is exactly what I'm talking about. I remember people you remember I kept saying like this team is still getting results. They're still doing it. It's not pretty, but they're doing. And yeah, I think especially getting through April, I think that's kind of like the first few months. The Union tend to historically they tend to kind of get out of the gate slowly.
Yeah.
But by May they really do pick it up, and last year was kind of that way. You started to see it in May. So again, because of how early it is, and because of the way the Union are, because of the competitions they're in, I'm taking a bit of a more relaxed approach because there's a lot of context that has to be really understood for the way that this team is like. The team's going to be competing on multiple fronts, and right now, that's kind of what they're trying to do.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Brian wants to check in. Said he played against Justin. Justin, did you get a clean sheet on Costa last week?
So that game, I actually went off hurt at the end of the first half. A bit of a nasty collision. My defender got tangled with the attacker. On Brian's
like Andre Blake on Tuesday, getting decked by Lowe.
Well, the full weight of my defender went right onto my shin, and thankful that I was wearing a shin guard because it did genuinely feel like it hurt like hell. So I took it easy. I thank God we have another goalie, but yeah, I had a clean sheet to for that game. It was wet. It was windy. We ended up winning 4-2. It was a good game. It was a shame to have to watch second half from the sidelines, but yep, it was a fun time. Even if it did kind of hobble me for the rest of the day.
Literally a brick wall. Who said that there's no injuries in soccer? What the heck are people talking about, man? There are injuries for sure. What's up, Daniel? Hope you're having a great night, brother. Daniel says we got to remember we didn't really start to dominate last year until the first DC match. Before then, fans were complaining about draws.
I mean, that's literally what I was saying all of last year. And like, the difference is we're adding more games with Leagues Cup and potentially more Open Cup. Like, that's kind of how it's going to be for a bit.
Absolutely, man. We got the Voices of the Black and Gold checking on in. I do believe this is an LAFC podcast from the title, but we welcome all here, Justin. So we appreciate you guys, and hopefully we see you guys in the MLS Cup again there. Appreciate you guys.
We'll see after a 3-0 thumping of Vancouver the first leg.
Dude, they are rolling. They are rolling over there in LA. What's up, Nate? How you feeling, brother? We're doing great here, man. We're just sitting here talking a little Union soccer. It's normal Thursday night shenanigans. Finally a W. That's right. Finally a W. Well, actually, it's a perfect segue, Nate. So let's talk about that W. We move on to CCL play 2 nights ago. Union versus Atlas leg 1. I was so looking forward to this matchup. Lineups here again. We got mostly your big guns. Obviously, the talk of this one was Justin. Go ahead, sing it, man. Sing it. What was back this week?
Christmas tree, oh Christmas tree. I was so excited when that lineup card came out because we actually have a striker who can play that system. Like,
2 strikers.
This is what we were clamoring for 2 years ago. Like,
absolutely, man. So these lineups are very interesting. So we're gonna talk about this. So obviously Andre in goal. Now here's the interesting part. Now remember, Kai still injured, and for precautionary reasons, again not out in this one. So you had Nate Harriel at left, Damian Lowe, and Jakob Glesnes as your center backs, with Olivier Bizo at the right. Your 3 in the midfield: McGlynn, Martinez, and Bedoya. Your two attacking midfielders in the Christmas tree: Gazak and Joaquin Torres, with their lone striker being Julian Carranza. A 0-0 match for 89 minutes of it. There was some good chances on both sides. Obviously the Union had better chances in the second half. There was obviously the moment that we alluded to just now with Justin, the Julian Quinones situation where he goes on a breakaway. Damian Lowe texts Andre Blake, got him Bizo trying to nutmeg dudes in the box. It was just a terrible situation. Red card in the 4th minute of injury time in the first half. That's another discussion that we'll get to in a second. 10 men for 45 minutes for the Union. And all they could really muster from that was 7 shots on target and a penalty kick goal that would put the Union up 1-0 and head back to El Akron in Guadalajara next Wednesday, with the Union up 1-0 on aggregate. So, Justin, my brother, man, listen, I'll be honest with you. I'm happy we won, but I definitely feel that you definitely wanted to go down to Guadalajara with more than a 1-0 lead, personally me. Atlas this year have looked better at home than they have on the road. So it was important to get yourself a nice little lead going down to Guadalajara. Now, obviously, Jim and the boys, they're built for these type of moments. But how are you feeling after Tuesday night's victory?
I mean, actually pretty good. Like, looking at one, Julian Carranza was getting, I don't know what the ref's vendetta against him was, because my man was getting battered around the box, no calls, and every time Carranza even like had a gust of wind from his direction go to the player, the ref would call it. It like, and my dad texted me during the game, goes, "Oh, Carranza better knock it off." I'm like, Dad, the ref is calling every soft foul against him. But when it comes to getting fouls for Carranza, he's basically telling him to get up, and it's like it was nuts.
It's weird.
I think I would say the first 20, 25 minutes, it was a very tightly contested battle. I think both teams did have some good chances. Atlas, for their chances, like, I think the one there's a couple Andre had to make some low saves. Outside of that, it felt like Andre was in, like, the defense was in control of things. The red card, I mean, that is dog so in a nutshell, if I've ever seen it. Like, he is the last defender. He makes that tackle. He is like, GAZDADDY has positioned himself perfectly between him and the ball. There's no chance of it. The ref didn't even have to think about it. The red card comes out of his pocket. And like, the defender even knew, like, he was walking away. He didn't protest. He didn't argue. He knew that, like, when players are like, if a player is either sheepishly walking away or just like doesn't say anything, they really didn't have much of a problem with the call. And once that happened, so Atlas were trying to really play hold up through their strikers, have their big number 9 kind of hold things up and allow their other striker to run off. Second half, they make a sub. They kind of revert really to a back 5. Like, it was kind of a 5-3-1.
Right.
Or a 5-4-1 if you really think about it. 5-3-1. Trying to think of the math, player down. You saw the Union really, I think the Christmas tree helped, because what it did in the midfield, one, it allowed your center backs, like, you had either Damian Lowe or Jakob Glesnes kind of interchanging who was stepping up. So you had someone back. You allowed the midfield to really kind of clamp down and press. And to be honest, force some really, really tough saves out of the Atlas keeper. I mean, for all the dark arts shenanigans that he was trying to pull, which, let's be honest, he was getting away with a lot. And I think even the ref was getting a bit frustrated with that. But, the Union were pressing and pressing. Like, it wasn't, again, this was 100% was not for a lack of chances. The Union were absolutely on the front foot in that second half. Pushing, and that PK. I mean, that is a PK. The goalie, like Carranza, gets to the ball way quicker, and the goalie just clatters to the back of him. And then the funny part is, as soon as the ref points to the spot, the goalie goes like down, like clutching, like he's hurt, and Carranza like legitimately is holding his back, and then gets up, and the goalie's still like, and that's where the antics started. Like, I mean, for what, at least 5 minutes it took for the players to surround the ref, the players to surround GAZDADDY, to scuff up the spot. I saw like the thing that you're not like everyone saw, like we were like like you can see the guy, and you had like Ali, you're trying to guard against them scuffing up the spot, but they were still trying to get through. The goalie finally eventually does get back. The one dude is just in GAZDADDY's face, and Grueff is trying to get in his head, just trying to wind him up. And Daniel's just standing there like kind of laughing, because he's like he's taken, he scored goals against England in Nations League. Like, he really doesn't get bothered by this kind of stuff. And Ali was doing what he does best as a captain, and genuinely, like, if I were the ref at one point though, I would have just started giving cards to the Outlaws players, because they were like, they literally surrounded him. It was at least 5 players circling the ref, and the ref's trying to like get in position, trying to send everyone away, talk to the goalie. And at a certain point, I would have just, like, if players, I think, and this is something that I really have not seen in any league to this point. Players seem to get a lot of leeway, even after PK is called, to like gang up on the ref, to kind of circle, to kind of like, at a certain point, if the players do not step away, it starts to venture into the line of descent. And that's where I feel like the ref can, at that point, can just start issuing cards. Because I mean, the Union were like, it was at least a 5-minute delay, because that penalty, that foul occurred at least 5 minutes before it was actually taken. So I was kind of surprised that there was only 4 minutes of stoppage time after that, because there was a decent amount of time wasted. And as you got on towards even before the PK, I said to Tim, a 0-0 draw doesn't really help Atlas here, because one of the interesting rules and tiebreakers of these legs, away goals count in CCL. And so, like, they were playing for a scoreless draw. And like, if I'm the Union, you're looking at next week's game going, you just need to get 1 goal. Just 1. And even a 2-1 victory to Atlas sends you through, because you've gotten that away goal. And so, like, I to me, I understand they were down a man, but even like, they were really they were trying to shithouse their way to that draw. And I think, unlike in prior games where the Union couldn't break people down, the Union had a ton of chances. He said 7 shots on net. They were creating a number of chances. So it was, as Ali said, definitely not a lack of chances. And that game could have easily been 3-0. But you know what? The goal was a PK, and in this game, considering how ugly it was, and as they say, the CCL, CONCACAF, like the ref lost the plot, and if there ever was a plot at any point in the CCL game. But you walked away with the victory, and you walk away with essentially a major, what I call a bargaining chip of, you get 1 goal in the next game, you are absolutely in the driver's seat. And I know that's a lot to ask on the road in Guadalajara, but you can then play to a 0-0 draw because you've already got the goal. So another goal on top of that is just icing on the cake.
Yeah, absolutely, man. A couple things here. Obviously, we saw the CONCACAF all starting 11 for this round. Damian Lowe, Daniel Gazdak, and Jack McGlynn all make the all 11. Obviously, Damian Lowe looked fantastic, and you talk about Julian Carranza getting beat now. Lowe got beat up, dude.
Damian Lowe was. I said to Tim, this was probably the best game. I know it's been a very, very short stint. This was the best game that Damian Lowe has had by far. He was winning challenges perfectly, using his size and speed to shape players off the ball, bring the ball up, start the counterattack. There was one time he sprays the ball out wide and continues on an adventure to the front and gets in the mix. Like, honestly, that, and I think that's why you traded for him. This gives you perfect depth, and it gives Jack Elliott and maybe occasionally Jakub Lesnes a chance to rest. And I think that the offense comes slow, but you have retooled on a defense that was already a very good defense.
He's the fastest center back on the team, right? Dude, the way he chased down Quiñones, I was shocked.
Yeah, like that kind of speed. I don't think I've seen that from a center back. I mean, Mark McKenzie was really the last one that really had that kind of breakneck speed to be able to catch a player from that deep. But yeah,
he was crazy, man.
A few of those tackles, he just came in perfectly. It was nuts.
For real, man. Real quick, I just want to say hello to Elijah. Elijah saying Atlas players are trying to get in everyone's head. But, man, they ain't no getting in our heads, man. That's for sure. What's up, Ryan? What's going on? Philly needs to start waking up soon. Maybe a CCL tie against LAFC will do the trick.
Now, it really does set up to be, if they advance, it would be a very
juicy round,
very tasty matchup.
It'd be the tasty cake of all the CCL rounds, man. What's up, Raynell? How you doing, brother? Raynell, we still got to change that profile pic, but it's all good, man. It's all good. So I'm honestly a little concerned about Daniel Gazdak. Look, they're internet warriors in every single fan base, but what I saw from Atlas, like, honestly, Justin, like, I wasn't alive for like the early 90s of the Colombian golden era, but I can assume like that's kind of what it felt like being threatened left and right. The amount of threats, like I have an album of the threats Daniel Gazdak got online. Like it's fucking ridiculous. I'm sorry I have to curse because it is fucking ridiculous. We're talking about soccer. And I understand that in other countries, soccer is everything. But to threaten Daniel Gazdak because your boy Barbosa egged him on, look, I've been telling everyone this for the last 4 years. I don't like Atlas. It's for a reason. I don't like the fan base. The fan base has been rude like this since 2019 when I was looking for a Liga MX squad. But this is drawing the line. I really do hope that the team is aware of what's going on because I also would not take these threats lightly either. I don't just think these are internet warriors. I think these are people who have some maliciousness to them. But it is absolutely heartbreaking to see. But in turn, I hope also this drives Gazdak instead of pushing him away. And I also hope that our security is uptight down there in Mexico too, brother.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate side of the game. And I like you, as you said, I would not doubt there is some validity to some of those threats. I mean, when you travel down, whether it be CCL, international, it is a different animal in different countries. And listen, you've heard the stories of referees, getting brutally attacked or even killed for bad calls. Like just even the whole incident in Argentina with Messi's in-laws grocery store getting shot up, and like it with the mayor in a rival soccer club. Like like I said, this is one of the horrific sides of the sport that we love. And I genuinely, and like I said, I would assume the team would take this seriously. And this is something I'm sure they have to coordinate. And I'm sure a lot of teams that travel down have to coordinate this kind of potential security risk. Obviously not to this level. But yeah, you know what? At the end of the day, it's a fucking game. I genuinely don't understand why people get this worked up, no matter what it is. Like, it's just ridiculous. And the fact that people would, like, it's not like random, Atlas fan 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These, like, a lot of these people, their names and faces are smack dab right in the front of this stuff, and it's like come on, like, really. I don't know. It just gets ridiculous to me, and it's one of the things that I you try to weigh with how things can be in this game, and I don't know. It just annoys the hell out of me, and genuinely gets under my skin a bit.
Absolutely. Real quick, because we do need to move on here. But Jose, what's going on? I appreciate you coming in here. It wasn't as bad for sure. The match day, it was bad. I mean, Adam Booth got threatened. I heard it in Spanish. What else did that? That was a while ago. I mean, they definitely came into my TikTok comments. I probably would have to look back at that one, but they were crazy. I would say this: definitely don't respond, but also too, if you see something, just tag the team. Let them be aware of what's going on. Let's just be proactive about it. Let's not keep egging it on, but for sure, let's bring this to the attention. And much love across to you as well, my man. Appreciate you coming here, Jose. But all right, Justin, you ready to talk some Union FC Cincinnati? Because that's our next opponents. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, as always, to help prepare this matchup this week, I'm super excited to have on the Cincy Soccer Talk podcast. And from them, please welcome our guest here today, Mr. Brian Wagle. Brian, what's going on, man? How you feeling? Welcome to DOOP by the River, brother.
Appreciate you guys having me, and props. You got my last name right on the first chance. Everybody calls me like Wiggly or Wiggly or whatever. So Weigel, good job, pal.
I like that. I'm also loving this setup, man. Giving our boy Tim Loving the run for his money, man. I love the scarf setup, man. I love it, dude. I love it.
Yeah, I miscalculated my jersey hanging over here, so we'll have to lower that a little bit later. But yeah, it's been, I guess, 8 years of FC Cincinnati with USL into MLS now. So we got all that back here, and
that's awesome. So you were there during the Nippert Stadium days, man.
I think I was like season ticket holder number 7. So yeah,
that's sick.
That
is really sick.
My priority is wonderful. So I love it.
Absolutely. Well, Brian, first off, we want to thank you guys for coming on in. This is the first time we've had the Cincy Soccer Talk podcast. So, kind of talk to us a little bit about the podcast, what you do with the podcast for the FC Cincinnati.
Sure. Cincinnati Soccer Talk is an independent podcast website that covers FC Cincinnati since its inception. We were the first podcast and site that covered the team. And honestly, at the beginning of it, it was just how do we get fans involved in wanting to keep our sport alive in Cincinnati. We've had so many false starts in Cincinnati between like Pete Rose, you owned like an NASL club. We've had all the indoor teams. So we wanted to, just get people involved in 324 main podcast episodes. We have several other spin-off podcasts, including Jersey Swap, which you were a guest of. That's been going for 6 years, which is a weekly preview podcast. And then we have, I guess, 2 other shows. One is Talking Tactics with Coach Brad Goff, who's a former college coach in Cincinnati, and then Justin Hoyt, who was a USL MLS player at FC Cincinnati, former Arsenal guy, part of the Invincibles. And then we have another show that is a shorter breakdown. So we do all that, about 30 of us guys, and or 20, 22 of us now, and it's been going strong. Yeah,
you guys got a soccer team.
Yeah. Not a lot of athletes, but a lot of talkers. That's for sure.
I like that, man. I absolutely love that. Well, listen, Ryan. Obviously, look, it's funny because when I was on the Jersey Swap, we talked a lot about rivalries. It's kind of turning into a rivalry. I kind of put it, and I'll allow Justin to give his point of view of it as well. In the beginning, it kind of was annoying because you guys get Chris Albright, which we all wanted to see him succeed for sure. But then Chris is trying to pull away Jim Curtin. And then you give Pat Noonan a chance. We're cool with that. But then you start taking some staff members. You take Ray Gaddis from us, Ray Gaddis. Harris Medunian in, then Sergio Santos. So it was a little annoying, but I think for me personally, the play on the pitch, like I saw like the Union imprint and I gained a respect for you guys. So like as I told Jeff yesterday, I don't hate you guys. I respect the crap out of you guys. And so I'm curious to see where this kind of goes going forward.
Well, you think you'd treat us more like a charity case, considering we had 3 wooden spoons the 3 seasons prior last year. But no, it's been exciting journey with Chris Albright and adding all the other players. So we actually had a pretty heavy Philly presence even before Albright arrived. Harris Medunian and a couple other players. Alvis Powell, who's back.
Yeah.
So you look at a club like Philly, and this is not meant to be a slight at you guys, but you did things the right way without the money. Okay. FC Cincinnati's always had the money. We've always spent. We've just been really, really, really bad at it. So now we had to go out and find guys that knew what they were doing and bring them in. And what's a better club than Philly, who's just, I mean, they're standard bearer of the league, honestly, with bringing youth kids up, finding diamonds in the rough. And honestly, the tactics on the pitch. Jim Curtin's an amazing coach. I'm glad you didn't fire him after his difficult start at the beginning. He's tremendous, and hey, maybe he's a future U.S. coach. We'll see.
We shall see. Justin, do you feel the same sentiment towards Cincy?
I mean, you kind of felt bad for them, like the perennial. They were always the always the bridesmaid, never the bride.
Well,
in US.
I got a better analogy for you. We were the rest week for all you guys, so you'd be able to play all their. I remember one time we played you guys, and you brought 4 kids from the 2 team and still kicked our butts, like the first or second season.
And I mean, he's right. Like, I mean, first off, the reason we do well with no money is because our owner tends to be a cheapskate. I mean, there's a reason his nickname around Twitter, depending on who you talk to, is Chopper McMoney Pants, because every time they'll go to a sale of a player, it'll be, oh, that'll feel Jay's helicopter for a few more months. I mean, listen, Cincinnati, you guys were the laughing stock for a while because, I mean, the managers you'd go through bringing, the running joke was every time a manager was fired, the caretaker, it was the same guy coming in. Every time it's just like, it's like, here we go again. And listen, Chris Albright leaving first, you could kind of definitely see that coming. He definitely had, worked his way to earn that. Pat Noonan, I mean, everyone had been saying for years how he had not had a head coaching job was kind of amazing. And I mean, listen, him and Jim were at the hip, during some of those runs, and bringing Pat in, listen, the first seat, like, to kind of have that vibe to take essentially put together a front 3 of Brendan Vasquez, who, I mean, let's be honest, a lot of people had surprisingly counted him out with his days in Atlanta. Like, he's still very young, and he was already essentially being tossed aside and kind of a surplus. And obviously Atlanta's, I'm sure, regretting that now, considering how things went out without their Miggy left and all that happened.
Nashville's regretting it because they got him from Atlanta in the expansion draft and sold him to us for $150K GAM, and they're still looking for a forward. So thank you, Nashville.
So that's where the rivalry starts, huh?
Oh God, no! Those guys are the worst. I went on I-80 Sports, and I jokingly called them the Entitled's, but it about fits the bill. So they love putting like, hey, we're a rival against FC Cincinnati, and we're like, no, you guys are like 4th or 5th tier. So it stirs.
Oh, I love it. I love the back and forth.
And we beat them, so just wonderful all around.
Yeah, there you go. That's awesome, man. Brian, listen, so a lot of us, especially on this pod, predicted Cincy to finish pretty high in the Eastern Conference tables. I mean, it's no surprise the way you guys kind of finished off last year. I honestly felt like you guys gave us the biggest test besides LAFC in the playoffs last year. So going into season, obviously the expectation. So what makes you think that this team is ready for Eastern Conference elite?
It's a great question, and I'm going to hedge that a little bit. So, with the FC Cincinnati successes, you guys have seen Brandon Vasquez, Lucho Acosta, Brenner, Alvaro Barreal, they've all been linked to moves abroad. So, while I think if we can keep all these guys in Cincinnati through the whole season, I think, yes, it's absolutely possible that we can contend. Last year, these guys were, lighting the league on fire, and we didn't have any depth behind them. So like our first 10, 11, 12 guys, that was it. And you saw it in that playoff match. We didn't have Yu Yakubo. He had to leave the country. He was like literally our one backup across the board, and he wasn't there. So we couldn't shift into the next gear. Now you have Albright, who knows the league, knows how to go out and get fringe players, like lure Ray Gaddis out of retirement. Great example. And then identify other pieces to allow more flexibility. So Cincinnati has the moves 60 minutes, 70 minutes into the game where we can go out and bring in Sergio Santos. Thank you, Philly. Dom Baji to round out the top. You have Yu Yakubo's hurt right now, but if he was available, you could bring him in. You could bring in Marco Angulu, who's a U22, and then we have a plethora of defenders across the board. So it's really a quality top to bottom roster build that has depth that Cincinnati's never had.
Interesting. Wow, we got Mr. Push Pop says since he needs to step it up, get a 4-goal match to pop off. Listen, you guys have surprisingly quietly gotten first place early on in the season. 14 points has started off. It's been a solid run so far.
It's done well, and we've played well against some good teams, beating Seattle, I think, beating whatever it was versus Seattle. And it's been without the front three really playing well. You've had a lot of goals by defenders, midfielders, but there's different ways to win, where last season, if we didn't have 2 goals by our front three, automatic loss. This year, we've brought in quality defending. Matt Miazga in the center back roles changed the whole tone of the defense. We have a loanee from Wolverhampton called Yerson Mascara. You were saying Damian Lowe earlier in the show is one of the fastest center backs. I think Yerson Mascara would challenge that. He's always known to have the athleticism and the skill set for Premier League football. He just was hurt and never played. And we were kind of like, okay, he brings him in for half a season with an option to loan for the rest of the year, but he's been in, and my goodness, guys, he's top 3 center backs in the league. He's tremendous with the ball, athletic, scored goals last week. He can move up the pitch. He can chase your fastest guy back. So that's been a huge game changer in the back. Of course, Obina Wobodo in the midfield. You guys have a wonderful midfielder in Martinez, and imagine if you had a couple $1 million more to go find a player better than him. And honestly, that's what Albright did with Wobodo. I'm not trying to pick anything on you guys. I'm just saying that Albright's had some more tools in his arsenal that he might not have had in Philadelphia, and he's starting to go identify some of these players that are just tremendous. And that's why we've turned it around so quickly.
It would be nice to spend a little more money. I won't mock a lot there, but just kind of sounds like similar issues, huh?
Front three issues, front three scoring.
I think the issues are similar, but I also think, and I was saying this earlier, the Union being involved in more competition has meant a lot more rotation, which has meant, and you talk about the team you guys beat Seattle. Seattle is a prime example, and there are a number of teams. The first half of the season does not mean much because of how long the season is, and again, like everyone, like US Open Cup is kicking off. The round 3 draw was just involved. Now the Union aren't in until the next round, but the draw is in. You have the Leagues Cup this summer. You have a lot of international breaks. This year is going to be another weird one. It's since 2021. These last few years have been just between all the competitions and the congestion. The first few months are always, we saw with the international break, this league can get very screwy very fast.
Justin, I'm not meant to kibosh your thought here. Points matter the same in April as they do in September. Now, carrying that into the whole season is where it matters. Now, FC Cincinnati, we've always been fighting to contend. So if we have that extra buffer, like look at St. Louis, you have that extra buffer, you're able to load manage better. at the end of the year. And you saw, issues with Seattle last year, all those extra games and that, derailing their season. So I want to push back a little bit. But I do think Philadelphia is built better than most teams to weather that storm. Yeah, you can't tinker a bunch because you're in win now modes, but you do have that flexibility to bring in high quality young talent to intersperse where a majority of teams like an LAFC really can't do that yet.
It does really bring a good point there for sure, man. All right, let's look more into this potential matchup here. I'm excited going back to the TQL, man. It's a pretty solid ground you guys got there, Brian, over there in Cincinnati.
I'm very excited. I'm actually my brother-in-law and my two nephews are they're in town from Germany, so I'm actually taking them to the game. So I'm very excited to get back down there this weekend.
Very nice, man. Very nice. All right, so let's kind of look here at some potential the way how FC Cincinnati has anything changed per se from last year to this year. Like I know Noonan wanted to run the 4-4-2 diamond, but I know like kind of steered away a little bit from it. So how is he sticking to that 4-4-2 diamond this year?
That was a one and done 5-0 loss versus Austin in week 1, 2022. So we haven't seen any of that since then. Maybe a US Open Cup here or there, but we've pretty much been in a 3-5-2. So you have your three center backs, Yerson Mosquera, Matt Miazga in the middle, Nick Hagelin, Cincinnati's own center backs. You have left back Alvaro Barrial, who, and I think you guys will probably push back on me on this, is one of the best attacking threats off the left wing in the league. He's been just tremendous this year. Right back is going to be interesting. I know your buddy Santi Arias was brought in this offseason. He's had some injury issues, but Ray Gaddis has been very well. That was Alva's pal last year. And I think we're very one-dimensional with Ray there because he just cannot go forward. I love the guy. Admirable defensively.
Sounds familiar.
Not anything going up the pitch. The biggest change, and I mentioned his name earlier, is Obina Nwobodo. There's not a better six in this league. He can do everything. He's got pace. He's got passing ability. He's a tremendous tackler. He can get. He just defends lines so well, passing lanes. And good thing for Philly this weekend is it's looking like he might not be playing. He picked up a knee injury, didn't play last week. He hasn't featured in practice, according to reports this week. So if he's not there, that's huge because he's such a key cog linking the play back from the center backs to Lucho Acosta, our number 10. And then, of course, Vasquez and Brunner, who are the two amazing nines that we have. So it's going to be very interesting to see who takes over for Obina Nwobodo. Of course, Junior Moreno, Venezuelan national team player. He'll be probably the fill-in 6, we'll say, with either Malik Pinto or our U22 Marco Angulo in that 6 or 8 role. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting. I think you're going to see a lot of attack up that left side with Barrial. Wow, there's no Nwobodo.
Okay. Justin, I'm just a little conflicted here. Obviously, listen, Wednesday's on our mind as well, but this is still an early Eastern Conference showdown. So I'm kind of just wondering, like, what will Jim put out there and what could we expect from these guys, man? So
can I interject real quick, Justin?
Yeah,
answer this. Are you guys going back to that Christmas tree we saw midweek?
I don't think.
That's what I want to know. Are you guys going to pack the bus?
I know Justin loves it.
Trust me. I love the Christmas tree. We actually have a striker that can play that system well.
I didn't mention this earlier, Justin, but Joaquin Torres' extra dribbling does concern me for 60 minutes.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of why I would be surprised if they had it for Atlas midweek next week. Yeah, I could definitely see them going back to the Christmas tree, but for even on the road, I think they're going to go back to the 4-4-2. I think that's just kind
of back set, 3 back versus 3 back. I'm just kidding.
God, don't tempt me with a good time of a back 3. Trust me. That those thoughts live in my head.
I've just, in this season, we've seen it a lot. Teams just pulling back, putting extra numbers in defense because they have to feature. You have to play a tough front three of Acosta, Brenner, and Vasquez, and not many teams have. Just like Philly feel it's very tough to contend versus Ura and Carranza and GAZDADDY. It's not something you see every day. So we've seen a lot of bunkering, especially at home. It's been very difficult to break down teams just because the amount of bodies. I think we saw it with Seattle where, I mean, you had your back four just sucked back in and your 2-6 is so deep. So I'm just wanting to see if Curtin's going to want to dictate play or if it's just a let's bunker counter.
See, that's kind of where that kind of mindset kind of leads me. We talk about that rotation, Johnny, with the outside backs. I have heard reports that I think Kai will be back. Jim said Kai is back in training, and that while Matt Real and Nate Harriel playing out of position, doing a great job, Kai Wagner is arguably at this point probably the best left back, if not top 3 in this league. I mean, he was up there with contending with Lucho for the assists, and for a left back, that's kind of
tremendous.
Nuts. Like that's kind of nuts to have that, and that kind of crossing stats reminds me of like 2019 Union where we couldn't buy a goal if it wasn't on a cross. But I do think. We talk about that back line. I think that back line is going to be mostly normal, except because of the front 3. And I've been saying this in teams that have a better attack that really put the pressure on. I would put Nate Harriel in at right back because I genuinely think he is the Union's best 1v1 defender. I think he thrives on those 1v1s on the outside. He has great timing, and he takes all the best defensive qualities of Ray Gaddis, and he actually can cross the ball in decently. And listen, that's why it'll be a shame if you guys have to play a new stadium because Tico out burns to the ground because Ray Gaddis scores a goal, and all of Cincinnati just goes down. And as we always, trust me, I think our closest with Ray Gaddis scoring a goal was Colorado, and it hit the crossbar. So I'm sure it, but I think Nate Harriel is as I've said is the best Union's best 1v1 defender on the outside.
Yeah, and
I'd be surprised if Jim went with Olivier in this matchup.
All right, to Nate's point here. Listen, I definitely felt like this before, and I'm not a big fan of parking the bus, but I understand more why teams do park the bus. In a situation like this, you're going on the road. You're smack down in the middle of CCL play. You just got done Tuesday. You got to go back on Wednesday to Mexico. Like, if you have a 1-1 match, like with 30 minutes left, why not?
Beep, beep.
Oh yeah, you gotta battle for any points right now. You're only in single digits, guys.
And Cincinnati is in first with 14 points. I mean, that's only 6 points ahead of us, and we're only like 4 points behind relegation. Oh wait, we're the MLS. Anyways,
hey, we'd be back in USL, man. We'd be in USL 2 by now.
You might be. That was the case. Nisa with this.
Oh my lord, NASL and Nisa. Let's go.
But yeah, Nate, listen, it's frustrating. I get it, but I mean, sometimes you got to do what you got.
Road points like that. I would rather get a ugly draw on the road and win a solid one at home. Like, that's kind of been my mindset. If you can smash and grab 3 points, great. But in certain situations, I mean, we saw it after last season after a tough loss in Chicago. You went and shithoused your way to a 0-0 draw against Columbus. Like, that was kind of the point I wanted. That's kind of how this league operates. This is a league where statistically the home team has the advantage. It's I think one of the highest home win percentages in professional sports, just because I say travel, like this league and the way that the stadiums are and the travel. Being the home team is a very much a big advantage.
Do you know if you guys are going to fly to Cincinnati and then down to Mexico? I would assume that would be the case to acclimate.
I mean, yeah, because they would probably fly into Mexico, but probably Monday.
A lot of road matches too, man. Sheesh.
Yeah.
So it goes. You have Cincinnati, Mexico, and then where are you at?
Chicago, right, Justin?
I believe so that would be it. Let me double check because
Let's go Google.
How you working right now, Google?
Chicago, yes.
And then Toronto. Oh no,
Toronto's
home. Yeah,
Toronto's home. So
don't sleep on Chicago.
No, I mean, we learned.
No, trust me, Casper Shabilko will miss him.
Our old friend Casper Shabilko.
Yeah.
All right, guys, let's get to my favorite part of the episode, the prediction time.
Oh no.
Brian, since you are a lovely guest here, we're going to allow you to go first here. So what we need from you is a score prediction. Let us know a little bit how you think the match is going to play out. And since this is a Union podcast, we need a key from you of how the Union beats Cincinnati, my friend.
That's not going to happen. I'm joking. In all honesty, guys, to me, the key resides in if Obina Wobodo plays. He's so crucial to how we get the ball forward. So I think if he doesn't play, you're going to see one of the two 20-year-olds, one of those two, in Angulo or Pinto play. Pinto is more reserved, more cautious. Angulo was the several $1 million U22 transfer who is I don't know if you ever can say this is a hybrid 8-10. He wants to go forward, but he doesn't have necessarily the polish. So he's kind of in that box role. Yeah, there you go. So he was the guy that almost caused a penalty this past weekend versus Inter Miami. Foul literally like an inch outside the box. But you see his ability. You see why FC Cincinnati paid for him, but he's just not consistent yet. He's still integrating into the squad. So one of those two play, I think it's probably a 2-2, 1-1 draw. I think if Obi does play, I think you have a lot more tools that you could bring on off the bench to then change the game later on, where I think you're pretty hamstrung without him. So he plays, FC Cincinnati wins. He doesn't play, it's a 1-1 draw.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Justin, what you got for me?
Yeah, I this is one of those games that because of the congestion of on the road in Cincinnati, on the road in Guadalajara, on the road in Chicago, before you come home, I think you might get maybe a 75% Union lineup, like maybe some rotation, or if you don't, you sub players out around the 65th minute. That the magical number minute that Jim loves to do most of his subs. I think a 1-1 draw. I think at this point, just get out of Cincinnati with a mostly healthy roster, and it's because of the congestion, the week and the travel, you just got to make sure you're rotating properly. But I think a 1-1 draw on the road is a very, very tough Cincinnati side would be ideal.
Yeah,
it's going to be amped up Saturday night. FCC's supporters are pulling out a lot of stops. They know how important this game is, and it's a FC Cincinnati wins versus Philly. That's a prove it game league wide. I mean, this is a banner match. This is a circled match on that schedule.
No, I mean we were definitely there before too. I mean, like we're looking up at NYCFC, the Red Bull and stuff like that. So I completely get it. And that's where my concern is, like how these guys will show up to that type of energy, considering all the soccer we've been playing. So it's going to be interesting. I really do hope that we do show up as far as energy goes, because I think it's going to be between us two come Eastern Conference Finals time. I'll be honest with you. So we'll see what happens here. But Brian, man, we really do appreciate you coming here, man. We had a lot of fun. You gave us some great insight here. But we want the people to know, if they got that itch for some FC Cincinnati content, where can people find the Cincy Soccer Talk?
You can go down that rabbit hole at CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. Find us at Cincy Soccer Talk, CINCY Soccer Talk. See all of our great Skyline Chili takes and all that fun stuff on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. But yeah, guys, The thing that I love right now is how many, especially with the SB Nation stuff falling apart, how many independent media there are. We've always been independent. Fortunately, we've been supporter based. We've got some wonderful sponsors now helping us. But at the end of the day, MLS is special because of guys like you doing the show every week. And it's the people that watch and listen and engage why we're a community and why I think the sky's the limit in this country for football. So love it. And just keep pushing and just
Absolutely,
love
man.
what you guys do. And thank you for coming on our show.
Absolutely, man. You nailed it in the head, man. It's all about the community. We're only growing, man. And hopefully we got podcasts in every single market for sure, Brian. We appreciate it, man.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Absolutely. Guys, that is Brian Weigel from Cincy Soccer Talk. That's going to do it for today's edition of DOOP by the River podcast. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Make sure you guys hit that like button and subscribe for more Philly sports. Find us wherever you stream podcasts under DOOP by the River podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Justin Hungarian Ice Vein Miner Friedberg. Of course, I go by the name of El Parcero Philly, and we're telling you guys